Hello, I'm Bert Bronius. This presentation is entitled Unleashing the Power of Praxis for Teaching and Learning. The concept of praxis offers a life-changing framework for understanding the teaching and learning process. This presentation will define praxis and shared praxis. It will then give an example of teaching using a shared praxis approach. Praxis in educational literature is the interaction between reflection and action, between thinking and doing. It is an ongoing process of thoughts and activities informing one another towards synthesis. To read more about that, you can see the writings of Paulo Freire, and I make one reference to one of his books at the end of this presentation. Now, shared Christian praxis is built upon the literature and research of praxis. And shared Christian praxis is a praxis-based approach for encouraging learners to reflect on their personal experience or stories, on the biblical story, and on how the biblical story relates to and may be lived out in their own lives. You can see the picture of the book jacket from the book by Thomas Groome, and that is the book upon which this presentation is based. The shared Christian praxis approach is described in Groome's book, Christian Religious Education. This summary is an abbreviation of Groome's work. The description that follows may be viewed as an introduction to the shared Christian praxis approach for those who wish to study it further and apply it. As mentioned in the previous slide, there are 5 components to the Christian shared praxis approach. These are: first, present action; next, critical reflection; third, story and its vision; fourth, dialectic between story and stories; and fifth, dialectic between vision and visions. This slide is the first of those, which is present action. The component is: the participants are invited to name their own activity concerning the topic to be taught. For example, the teacher asks, "What prayers do you say? How do you say them? What do you say when you talk to God? Tell me about a time when you prayed." This is called present action because it invites the learners to identify an action or experience in their life that relates to the topic that is going to be taught. The next component, called critical reflection. Learners are asked to think and talk about why they do what they do and the likely or intended consequences of their actions. So, for example, the teacher says, "Imagine that that is the teacher, that I was a small person from outer space, and I saw a child kneeling beside their bed and asked, 'What is he or she doing?' You, the students, answered, 'Well, praying.' How would you answer the alien's question about what is prayer and why do you pray? What kind of things do you pray for or about?" The next is story and its vision. In this component, the educator makes present to the group the Christian community story, or in other words, the biblical content. In this case, the story of prayer, and it will be the example of the Lord's Prayer. The Christian community story concerning the topic at hand and the faith response that it requires. The example of this would be, at this point, the teacher uses a narrative format to explain how Jesus prayed and how he told us to pray. The group prays the Lord's Prayer together. Worksheets, reading, media, and other learning activities could also be used. In the next stage, after being exposed to the content of Scripture, the component would be that the participants are invited to appropriate the story, that is the biblical story, to their lives in a dialectic with their own stories. And by dialectic here we mean an interactive evaluation, thought, reflection. Example, the teacher says, "What do you now think about prayer and how Jesus prayed?" Then there is a dialectic between visions and visions. There is opportunity for learners to choose a personal faith response for the future. The teacher in this example questions by saying, "How will you pray? What will you say? And when will you pray?" So finally, in conclusion, having shared the components and example, the shared praxis approach views learning as not just acquiring knowledge, but also in developing the ability to think critically and to act on what we learn. Shared Christian praxis has the potential of being an incredible tool for helping students to grow not only in their knowledge of biblical facts, but in the application of these to their faith and life. You are invited to unleash the power of praxis in your teaching by adapting aspects of the shared praxis approach to your own teaching. The final slide provides resources that you may wish to consult for going further into your study of praxis and how to understand the relationship between not only reflecting or engaging content in your mind, but helping learners evaluate it and apply it to their life and action. May God bless you in your teaching.